family. It's time for Winedown with your host, Missy, and the Winedown Wednesday crew. Join us tonight as we discuss topics that affect families on a daily basis. So grab your glass, your cup, or even your blanket. Settle in on the couch and join us in the room as we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, family, and welcome to another live edition of Winedown Wednesday. I am your host, Missy, and I welcome those of you that are joining us in the room back. If this is your first time, welcome to the room. We hope to have some pretty good conversations tonight about the education of our children. So joining me in the room, I see some familiar faces that will be coming back on camera. Oh, there's Angie. I see Sheena's in the room. I see Shayla is coming into the room. And we'll be joined by some other people, but as always, we stress we are still mommies first. So sometimes the littles know you got stuff to do. And you know how they say they be drinking coffee and taking no-dos. I think they do that on Wednesday night. So tonight, the mommies will come in the room as they're able. If you would like to join us in the room for the conversation, you can always send a message. We are monitoring the chat. Well, I am not. They're monitoring the chat while I'm running the conversation, and we can let you in the room because we would really, really love to hear your opinions on some of the topics that we're talking about. Last week, we were fortunate to have one of the authors here to talk to us about his books and building our children's self-esteem, words of affirmations, that sort of thing. And I was looking at something this morning and it sparked the thought, how do we unintentionally educate our children, right? Because they're sponges. They soak everything up. They take the good, the bad, the ugly, and they show you, right? And sometimes they don't show you the best side of you. If you are yelling at traffic and, you know, in a rush and you have road rage, and then you stop at a red light and they're in the back yelling, "Go, mommy, go, blow your horn." Like, that's what they're learning, right? So tonight I want us to be intentional about the education of our children, but the unintentional side of education and educating our children. So joining me in the room, like I said, was Angie, Sheen, Shayla, and some other mommies will come in. We always respect everybody's opinion. Again, what works at our house may not work at yours. These are simply suggestions that we are putting out as to some things that work in our home, and maybe some things aren't working where we are, and we are looking for suggestions, right? We don't always have the best answers. We work with what we have until someone educates us on how to then better educate our children. So I want to tell you the amount of notes that I was taking today, because things just kept kind of coming to me, and of things that we unintentionally teach our children. And I shared a story with the girl, with the ladies during our mommy chat, where my daughter said something the other day that kind of caught us off guard and made us be like, whoa, okay, so we can't say that ever again. And then I didn't get a chance to share with them today. She was in the back seat, same twin in the back seat. She had her little cell phone, and I don't know who she was talking to, but she was having a full conversation. Do you hear me? I mean, this conversation, and it sounded like she was talking to somebody. She was pausing, like they was like saying, it was so funny. And I don't know what they said, but she said that word again and put her phone down. And I said, oh, and I had to tell my husband about it when he came home today. I was like, we really have to work on, you know, being strategic in what we say. So I had a gentle conversation with her, and I was saying, you know, this is not what we say. These are not gentle words, that, you know, in 3-year-old language, but I basically said what I needed to say. So that hit home that they are, I don't know why they seem to pick up the stuff you don't want them to pick up first before they pick up the stuff. You could have that alphabet plastered in every room in the house, and they will not point out the letter A, but they will give you back something that you did not mean to give in a split second. So we are unintentionally educating our children sometimes. I want to start the conversation with this, and I want all the mommies to chime in. I see Shayla has joined us in the room. Hi, Ada. Oh, we're from Florida. Hi, we missed you. They're in the room, and I want to talk about, in the unintentional educational piece, what are they watching? Like, what are they? Because I know we have all these little programs, that we do Gracie's Corner and, alphabets and all, and that's good. Those are learning tools. But sometimes everybody's mama seem to have a YouTube show now on these, miss this and miss that, and this person and that. And if you look at them surfacely, sometimes they're fine, like the wheels on the bus, the days of the week, all of these different things. But one of the pieces is, one of the characters whines. Like, when she talks, she whines, right? That, I don't know if that's her attempt to make the toddlers interested because she sounds like them, or that's how she talks in real life. But I noticed that the girls were starting to say certain words the way that she said them. And so, for as much as they were getting good things, they're also picking up some other habits, right? And so I want to open this up for a discussion. What do you guys think about what's being offered now to our children to have conversation?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I just recently felt that a little bit about Daniel the Tiger. I don't know if anybody else child watches Daniel the Tiger, but Rory would just like randomly start growling when she was upset. And, she'll do the whole, and then she'll sing the song, and the song is, if you're feeling bad and you want to roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. So she would sing the song, but I was happy she knew the song, and that was her way where she knew, how to help calm herself down. But the other piece of that is, when she was feeling mad, she roared. Like, she would literally roar like a lion when she was upset, instead of like, she would fall out and cry, but she would actually like, roar. And I'm just like, that I want, you to be roaring. I would rather you like cry. So and he was stoned and things like that, things that she didn't do before. Like, before, she just was like the normal 3-year-old meltdown. We're gonna cry, we're gonna kick, we're gonna throw our toys, like the normal things that they do when they upset. But it's like, you have to choose, kind of how to how that all works, and what you like. I'm glad she knows how. Like, we do this thing now where we smell the flowers and blow out the candles to take deep breaths. Like, that's a whole thing that we do now. So I'm just like, I just don't want you to be walking around here roaring, because that's what Daniel the Tiger do. So yeah,
I think my issue with those, I like those kind of, not that I like, so I like Daniel the Tiger, but also there's someone on YouTube, Diana, and like, he knows. I say, you're not supposed to be watching Diana. And YouTube kids, when they have it in their hands, they can just switch and pick whatever they want. It's not the same as, mommy, can you change? I don't want to watch this more. Can you change the channel? So he kept stumbling across this one, and I would block it, but then she would be on a different channel, and I had to block that channel. And it was for those reasons. Like, she would stomp, she would whine, she would cross her arms. And as an adult listening to it, you keep going through the episode, the parents will encourage the kids to use their words, and that's not very nice. But at a first impression for a child, they're paying attention to the explosive part of the episode, not the calm talking. You don't do that. They're not paying attention to that. They're paying attention to the throwing and the yelling and the, I want that, and hey, you took that from me. And Miles was doing those things. And I was like, nope, block, 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 block. And then like you said, Missy, everyone can have a YouTube channel. And I don't know how he keeps finding these ones that are like Russian. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm like, you could barely speak English. So I don't need you listening to broken English or, something grammatically incorrect, because their sentence structure is just different because these kids barely speak English as well. So I had to kind of block those two, and it's a lot out there.
But what's funny, to add to your point about him focusing on the explosive parts and not like the corrective parts, I used to think that Rory didn't notice the corrective parts until I was sitting back watching how she interacted with her toys.
Correcting them and being a grown-up. Miles will say, you need to listen to me, okay? And I'm like, so you remember me saying that to you?
Exactly.
Yes. We got that. I'm gonna try and not like go down my whole YouTube Kids spiral, because that has been fully uninstalled for all of our things in the house. But I think the channel that and part of that was the like the unintended domino effect in terms of like other things that it triggered that spiraled very quickly with like nightmares. And I was like, how is this happening? This isn't YouTube. This is YouTube Kids. And I said 4 and under.
Right.
But it was Elijah somehow found the station, and I get it, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It's like a Black family and Black kids, and like it's led by the Black kids. And I was like, yay, he's found representation for himself. And then all of a sudden he was like, mommy, gaga goo goo. And I was like, what?
Yep.
What in the world? And it was like, gaga, mommy gaga, baby gaga. And I'm like, you were never that baby who ever spoke about some gaga goo goo and man. And now all of a sudden everything is gaga goo goo man. And so I started watching, and I was like, why are we using words that babies don't even say?
Exactly.
Like I was just like, okay. And so I didn't even get beyond that, because I was like, those are the names and then the references, and he's not differentiating between this is the name I'm using for a person, not I'm actually speaking that way, and all of those things. And so I was like, yep, no, we got to pull that. And so it was like those kinds of things that I found just like, wait a minute, like I love the interaction between the siblings. I love the interaction between the parents and the kids in this space, and like dad getting to be a superhero and all of this stuff. But I don't want you running around here at 3 years old talking about some gaga goo goo when I'm still like, the teacher already was having speech therapists come in because she didn't think he spoke. And now when you are, you talking about gaga goo goo, and what in the world? Like, I was just like, yeah, like we can't do that. We can't, no. So
I had that was one of the things that I have on my list was, are they getting words that we're then going to have to turn around and correct, right? I think in this, and I know we're in different, we have, what's the different age groups, the millennials versus and I understand that you all are in a different one than I am, but even when you were younger and when I was younger, the way that they spoke to us, it was like, what, you want Wawa? What do you mean water? Can we say what? Can we say water? Right? And so then they say today, well, these kids are so much smarter because we talk to them like they're little people. Like we call them littles for a reason, because they're little people, and we don't speak to them as if they are I don't know. And it drives me crazy when I hear people talking to babies. I do realize sometimes our voices get a little higher pitched because, we're playing with them, but we're still using correct language, because that's the only way that they're going to use correct language is if they hear it from us, which makes sense, Nick. The dialect and everything that he was listening to is not the one that he's going to interact with every day. So it just that that still like blows my mind to hear people, you know, using these words that you're going to have to correct at some point, when you can just give them the language that they should have in the first place. They're gonna mess it up, right? Yeah. So even then, my girls are doing the alphabet, and I posted it the other day. One says Ella P, right? She doesn't say LMNOP, right? So this morning, one of her Beanie says Ella N-A-P, right? So she's telling Shay it's not L-O-L-O-P, it's Ella N-A-P, right? So you correcting her, both of y'all saying it wrong, and I'm over there cracking up. So once I got myself together, I said it with them, but adults didn't used to do that. Like if that's what they were saying, they would say it like them, so that they felt like the child was understanding them. Like that blows me too. So having people around you that understand what your mission is with your child is vitally important, because what's being said when you're not there, what's being done when you're not there, who's the people that are in their life, in their tribe, their circle, we should all be on one accord, right? You shouldn't bring your child to my house, and I'm talking baby, and then you get them back home and you can't figure out where some of this stuff is coming from. But so I've had conversations when I hear, no, we don't say the word correctly, so that they can learn how to say it correctly. And that brings me to another thing that I had. Who are the people that you're surrounded? Because I know when my mother had me, people were picking like their godparents and their people watching their children based on their friendships, right? So my mom's best friend at the time happened to be my godmother, right? And now when I talk to her, and this is, you lose contact and all of that stuff, and talking to her now, her broken Baltimore dialect is like, whoa, like, what we doing? Yeah, you straight from the inner city of Baltimore with this, because y'all know Baltimore has a dialect of its own. But I was listening to her, and and I was talking to her, and one of the girls kind of came in camera view, and she started talking baby and Baltimore dialect. I was real confused for like a hot second. So I was like, y'all wave and go ahead, right? Because I didn't want to kind of correct, because she's older, right? They're not going to see her but maybe twice in their life, probably. So I didn't feel the need to correct. But are we still picking our role models based on our friendships with people?
Yeah, I found myself having to have that conversation. I had to tell someone, like, I don't talk to my kid that way at home, so y'all not about to talk to my kid like that outside of the house. Like, they were just a little bit rougher with him, and I felt like I aged like 10 years when I had to have that conversation. But I was very serious about it. I was like, I don't do this. And his primary caregiver, like my mom don't do this, his dad don't do this, his grandparents don't do this. You guys are not going to do this. I'm not going to allow, this type of, we don't talk to him like that at home. That's pretty much how the conversation went. And I do have some really close friends who had some kids before me too. And I'm kind of like, oh, cool. Like they could play together, like under very strict supervision, and probably at my house, because, what works for your house works for your house, but it just doesn't work for mine. And I don't really need that to get messed up.
Yeah, that's always a hard one. I think when you are, for those that have had your babies dedicated in the traditional sense of, like the Christian sense of dedication, is usually done with the parents and the godparents, and there's like this charge given to those that are helping you to care for these littles. And one of the things that they really focus on, because it's usually like in a more church religious setting, is, are you going to be committed to the spiritual well-being and the raising of this child? Sometimes I feel like they need to add in there, are you going to act right so the kid will act right? right? I have, so my current bishop, he's done, and when he does baby dedications, he's like, so that means y'all not gonna be smoking around this kid, y'all not gonna be drinking around this kid, y'all not gonna be doing all of these, and he differentiates. He said, if you at dinner or you in your house and you have a glass of wine, that's no big deal. But you're not gonna be partying around this kid where you got bottles lined up because what you're saying to them is this is okay, right? So anything that you anything that he always says, anything that you think I would be offended at you doing around my child, don't do it around their child. And I was like, look at you. So, but people don't think about that, the things that go on, the things that are being said. And these children are picking this stuff up, and they're picking it up very quickly. And we don't really know it till they use it in a sentence. Right? They'll use a perfectly crafted, full body sentence. And you're looking like, where in the world did you get that from? Because we don't say that. Or in the environment that you should be in every day, they don't say that. So where did you get it? And it does go back to like the YouTubes. And I hate YouTube. I ain't gonna lie. I hate YouTube because you can give them like shit. You can craft, I only want my kid to watch this, and some kind of way, these other things come through the filters, right? And you hear these crazy sounds and they doing all these different things, and the children are emulating that. They're being educated. Unintentionally, but they're being educated.
I think it also extends to, Nicole touched on this. I'm like, Nicole.
Yeah.
But touched on this in terms of like, even in terms of family, because and those like the significance, I think, of age groups as well, like the age of your kids, and being mindful of that, of what that like realm looks like, because like we have cousins all like, we're the late bunch in terms of having the baby. And so the cousins are like 8 years old and 10 years old. And so then here's Elijah, who's 3, who's getting and developing language. And then we've got the 8 and the 10-year-old cousins who are in elementary school. And so they're watching the PG movies. And we're like, nah, we all G. Like, what are you doing? And so like, even Spider-Man, like, oh my gosh, the Spider-Man craze was triggered because we were at cousin's house, Elijah for babysitting, and Elijah comes home and he's like, I want to watch Spider-Man. And Spidey and Amazing Friends on Disney Channel Junior was no longer acceptable. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are we supposed to do with this? And so it was, right, the introduction of violence, the understanding of death. Like, oh my gosh, my kid just got a lesson on like death and murder and like explosions and bombs and all of these things, right? That happens in these movies that I didn't want to have that conversation with my 3-year-old, right? And so I think those are the other sides of it. Is it's not even just the YouTube or what we're ourselves saying, but like what other people see as appropriate, which I mean,
It's
that's
not that it's
fair. If your
inappropriate,
kid is
it's probably
13,
just,
I can't be mad that you letting them watch a PG-13 movie.
yeah. Or it's
But
just
man.
concepts. I mean, like you said, violence and death, like that's a concept that you were not particularly ready to have happen. And that happened with Miles. He went to a friend's house who have older kids, and they had little Nerf guns. So now my kid will tell you all day, like, he's gonna shoot you. Now he doesn't understand, like, I'm gonna shoot you and kill you and you're gonna die, but he will totally innocent come up and be like, "Ooh," and he calls it a bew shooter. He's like, bew, bew, like, I got you at my bew shooter, right? And so then daycare complained, and I was like, yeah, but like, did you listen to his full sentence? Like, you don't know what he's talking about. Or I even brought up Spider-Man. I said, did he say web shooter? Like, he that you say shoot in Spider-Man, you shoot in webs, like, pew, pew, pew. But there is a whole nother concept and a whole nother connotation. A lot of times death is definitely a big one. Stumbled upon a video on YouTube of a mom and her other kids going through the journey of she about to have a new baby. And I was like, not talking about that yet, but it's so many things out there that, I mean, like the Bible says, train your child up in the way they should go, so when they grow older, they don't depart from it. But they're going to get exposed to so much. And even our conversation last week about just, you're going to have to put them in school or in sports, or they're going to be at the library or internet. They're going to meet a friend on social media, chit-chatting about stuff. And there's just so many concepts out there that you just hope and pray that don't like totally turn them. But it's kind of like, I try not to get anxious and obsess over it, because I know I don't have super control over these things. Even with YouTube, like you said, you can craft what you want, but stuff slips in and it just gets messy, and you're like, okay, wasn't prepared to talk about this yet, but let's go on ahead and corral this.
Yep.
It's funny with YouTube, it's for so long, of course, YouTube been free for as long as YouTube been free. Everybody use a free version. But it wasn't until I had Rory and we actually started like watching your Gracie's Corners and your Miss Rachel's and your Miss Monica's and, you know, the good stuff. But those ads would creep in.
Yep.
So since then, I actually pay for YouTube Premium. But Rory's not a device kid. We're a TV kid when it comes to her watching YouTube. So it's very seldom that she actually has free reign with a phone in her hand to be able to swipe around. But when she does, we can't let her have her toddler headphones, because we need to be able to hear when she's switching around. Because there's been times where she switched to something and I'll be like, that don't sound like Miss Rachel, give me that phone. And she be done clicked on something else, and now it's stuck in the history and it starts playing with the algorithm, like y'all said.
Yep.
So it's just crazy, like how quick they move, how swift it is, and just that one thing, and then they get glued in. When Rory stopped moving and talking,
Yep.
or singing along with whatever it is that she's watching, that's when I know she's not watching what I actually put on that phone, because now you're glued into something, to the point that she's into drawing now, and she draws, you know, I showed y'all the stop and the go thing one of the days we were on here. Tuesday. So she draws everything now. So she gave me this stack of pictures for me to take to work. So I took them to work and I hung them on the walls. I took a picture of my cube and I, you know, told Gerard to show it to her. And he goes, you know, that picture right there is the picture of that green-eyed monster that she saw on YouTube. And I was like, she told me it was me. So I'm just like,
Executive level thinking.
But
yes.
He knew because she drew it with him. But when she gave it to me, she told me that it was a picture of mommy and she wanted mommy to take it to work. But it was something that she had saw when she slipped in and changed something on YouTube. So I'm just like, actually, I cannot be that mom to even put on a show that appears to be okay and walk away and do something, because you don't know where they little slip in with, you know, little things that you might not as an adult think it'll do anything, but they'll talk about it later. Like you're putting in the bed and you're saying goodnight, and is the ghost gonna come and see me when I go to sleep? What ghost are you talking about? Not even realizing. So she's been holding this in the back of her head all day.
Okay.
And then she goes to lay down, and that's the first thing she asks. So it is very seldom that we like put on something and walk away for that reason, because you just never know. Like, to the point, I have to screen kids' TV shows. Who wants to sit down and watch 30 minutes of something, you know, to confirm whether or not you want your child to watch this or not? But in the long run, you know, it'll be worth it. And to that language piece, and I'm gonna go back on mute. I can't remember the movie, but it's a Disney Pixar movie that's out. Wally, I think it is Wally or something like that. She kept saying Wally one day. Come to find out, you know, her and her dad had watched it one day during the day, and she wanted to watch it. So I put it on because I'm like, he watched it with her. Okay, cool. It must be okay. I couldn't even sit for like 5 minutes. It was no talking at all. And I was like, we're not about to watch this. No, ma'am.
Just some sounds, the little robot thing.
So beautiful. I love it.
We're not doing this. They're not even talking, because next thing you know, she's gonna be walking around the house like, no, open your mouth and talk. Yes. I was like, I was actually shocked that he let her watch it. I really was like, I was like, no, ma'am, we're not watching this. Let's turn on Miss Rachel or something. Like, I'd rather listen to her annoying voice for 2 hours than to sit here and possibly regress your language back a whole 6 months because you watching this daggone robot movie that don't even talk. Like, no, we're not doing that. So
I have to pay attention because if they do get something that's over about 30, 45 minutes, they barely blink. Let's talk about that. They barely blink, but they won't even remember to go to the potty, right? That's when most of the accidents occur, is if they are hyper focused, like you said, Angel, not something they can get up and jump around, they singing the songs with, but if they zero in on something that they feel like they got to be right here, that's when a lot of the potty accidents happen. So we have to literally stop them, take them to the bathroom in the middle of whatever it is, and bring them back because they won't even want to stop to go to the bathroom.
It's so bad now that Rory, she'll do her little potty wiggle or like her little get in the corner and start talking. That means she got to poop, and she'll come over to the remote and try to figure out how to pause it. Like, she knows now. Like, I tell her, I was like, it's okay if you gotta go, we can pause it and you can come back. And she'll go pee, come back, she'll push the play button and carry on. But it wasn't always like that. And we're actually regressing a little bit in this potty training. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But yeah, it's real. They get glued in and just everything just go haywire. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
I have to stand in front of him in my completely blocked view, except I say it's literally like he's a robot because he will do this.
Yep.
And still never blink and just
Yep.
And
I
then
just
I'll
cut the
move,
TV off.
and then he'll and I'm like,
Just turn it off.
TV off. I just be ready for the meltdown.
calling his name, and like now I laugh, but not because I'm like, because I remember that being me. And so my dad, his whole trick when I was growing up would be, he would ask me questions where it was things like I wanted, but his typical answer would have been no.
No.
But he would ask to see and be like, hey, you can do this. You wanna? And
Just
I
to see if
like
you paying attention.
to see, and I would completely miss it. And then like the commercial break would come and I'd be like, did you say something? Don't worry about it. You already missed the chance.
Yep.
And then it was just like, no. And so now I'm like, this is what I was like. Oh my gosh. Like,
I
how
got
did
Rory
you
the other day,
go
like
through-
saying little different things, and she like, saying little different things. I said, you got poopy on your face. Like, and she just,
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My girls tell me, move, mommy, I can't see. Mommy, I can't see. Mommy, I can't. Cause I want you to see me. Like, I'm right here. So I either have to pause it or, like Sheena said, turn it completely off. And then you got to worry about the 10 to 15 minute meltdown. After you turn it off.
Yeah.
And depending on if it's like they're already tired or whatever, it's like bigger and exaggerated, so much bigger. So, you know, we're not taking headphones and tablets and things. I've seen kids walking through stores with them like this, and still managing to follow their parents. We're teaching personal safety, right? That you know, that's my husband's biggest thing. So you have to be aware. So if I can't be on my phone when we're out doing stuff because I have to know who's around me, I don't need you on your tablet, because if you'll do that, you'll walk out into traffic, you'll walk into something, you will fall into something. So I need headphones off, I need tablets away, I need ears on me, like that kind of thing. And I mean, I know we used to like to watch TV, but these kids, they're doing studies on how the use of these things is causing depression and things in our kids' brain because they have to see something like this all the time, right?
I heard something that said that you're literally, while you're scrolling or even watching TV, like in between, like watching TV, not a commercial, your heart rate like gets like drastically slow. Even just scrolling through social media, like your heart rate is so low because it's just like an autopilot, I guess, sort of thing. Like I was like, oh gosh. And it's one of those things you have to be really intentional about. Like sometimes I know when I want peace and quiet in the car, like I've got a little thing and I can put my cell phone back there. Cause that was my thing. I was like, you're not getting your own anything. You can use my phone if I allow you to have my phone, but you're not gonna be like, where's my phone? Where's my tablet? Where's my whatever? So if I'm going somewhere I don't need my GPS, I have been like, yes, fine, here's the phone in the car. But even then, I don't really get peace and quiet because he want to talk to me about the show and all that stuff. But it's like super intentional. He'll ask sometimes for shows in the car, and I'm just like, well, how about we sing a song instead? You want to sing a song instead? And then like now we have to sing songs the whole car ride, or you want to try and look for the moon instead? But it's like, it's just the one thing that's always on their brain. It's just the most fun thing ever to them. And I feel like it's kind of like video games. We were somewhere that had a foosball table, and he was playing with it, and it was like an Airbnb. So when we woke up in the mornings, he said he wanted to play the video game. And I'm like, no, baby, this is an actual game, like a physical game, not a video game. But he didn't understand that.
Right.
So then we got more physical games. Like we have Perfection. He could put the shapes in and it pops up, like just more like board games and stuff that are kind of age appropriate. Cause I was like, that's sad. He doesn't even know like the difference.
It was funny. I saw somebody recently post, it was somebody our age. She said that she was looking at a photo album, like an actual hard photo album. And it was a picture that she couldn't see, and she touched the photo album and went like that out of habit because she's so used to doing that on her phone that she just naturally did her finger. Yeah, to zoom in on the hard picture. And she laughed so hard at herself and was so embarrassed. But I'm like, our bodies and our minds are so trained for these electronic devices. And we ourselves are, I find myself, you know, the iPhone, I don't know how it does this. I might need to turn it off so I won't be convicted, but it gives you that screen activity report every now and then. And I'm like, but guess what? Most of my scrolling is from like 9 at night to like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, because that's my wind down time. And I'm now catching up on everything, you know, that I missed. Or if I'm at work, like I'm trying to check on her and I'm paying bills, or I'm looking at this or looking at that. So it's like, your phone is your
everything.
Your everything.
Everything. We used to remember phone numbers. How many phone numbers can we remember? We used to have whole address books in our minds, and the ones that we didn't know, we wrote down in a little book that we kept with us. Now you lose your phone, you're good to know your spouse's number. You're good to know, like, you know, your mom's number or your dad's number, but we are not remembering all the numbers that we used to remember. We're listening to, I know, and I am super guilty of this. We listen to audiobooks. And there was a time when you could sit and you would have to calm your mind and turn these pages and be in this book. Now we're listening to a book and we're on autopilot. We're doing 20 different things while we're listening to the book. So our brains are learning to work in so many different areas that when you stop to go to sleep, your brain is still on in so many different areas. And we have to be careful that we're not doing that for our children, and so that they're not sleeping at night, and because they can't turn their brains off at 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old, because that's what's causing nightmares.
I saw something about like attention spans, and we could be like unconsciously teaching our children to have short attention spans, because when you're playing with your kid, how many times did you pick up your phone, even if it just was to read or respond, but you're like, yeah, baby. Yeah, and then they have your undivided attention, and then it buzzes again, and then you're going to it again, and then you're going back to play with them. And I was like, oh gosh. And that I get convicted a lot because I have cameras everywhere in my house to spy on my kid. But sometimes if we've had like a very stimulating evening, I'll go back and look at it. And I'm like, oh, what did we do today? And I'm like, oh my God, I picked up my phone so much. Or, oh my gosh, I really, really like yelled, or like when he wasn't listening, I thought I just grabbed him up, but then I watched the video and it's like, no, I like yanked him up, and then I feel really bad. But it's just so many things that you don't realize that you're teaching them and other people are teaching them. And I think that's how we started this conversation. That's scary. We can't do it by ourselves. They're going to be with a lot of different people. And then trying to have, the grandparents help, understanding they came from a whole different generation, and then feeling like you can't correct them. And then when you do finally correct them, now y'all got like feelings, and it's just a whole thing. But it's your kid.
Come back, mother. Come
I
back.
remember when we recently went through, what we're going through here now, and it's like he was more in front of his iPad than I think he's ever been in his whole short existence of life. And I realized one time the camera went off in his room, was like sound detected. I'm like, this kid is crying. No, he's like talking in his sleep about monster trucks that he was watching on his iPad. And it's like he literally was watching it and would scream if I take it from him. And he walks upstairs, it's on the counter in the bath, walks in the room, it's on the night. And it's like you're watching it right up until you fall asleep. And I'm like, Rachel, you know better, but it helped. That was my 24-hour babysitter when I was like, life was just, but then I'm like, now you're reciting it. And then it became like when he came home from school, it's, Mommy, where's my iPad? Where's my iPad? I'm like, I don't know. Where did you put it? You lost it. Mommy, I lost my iPad. I'm like, yep, you did. And then on the weekends when he see it, it's like magic. And I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out the right time to give it. Because if you give it, you're not taking it back. Otherwise, like Missy said, all hell is breaking loose, But the shock for me was like when he started like saying stuff in his sleep. And I'm like, oh yeah. Now you're doing it a lot.
But that goes to one of the points that like we're really all the tech people out there push when it comes to kids about, I think it's 2 hours, like try to do like 2 hours before bedtime. So we try to stick to, especially Monday through Friday, the TV devices, when TVs go off at 5 o'clock, we still like FaceTime family because there's two-way communication and they're actually talking and having conversation. And even with that, I cut that off before we hit the bottom step to come upstairs, because if that iPad or that phone or whatever comes up here and they're talking, bedtime is completely thrown off. Like it's like no devices per se upstairs. Like we don't even have TV in our bedroom by choice, because this is like, one of my good girlfriends put it best. She says that her top floor, her house, in their house, they call it the quiet floor. Their family knows that's the quiet floor. This is the floor of rest. Like it's no TV, it's no chaos up here. The reason we come up here is to shower and sleep. That's what happens up here. So it's kind of like one of them things where even I don't even like try to talk loud when it's me and her up here. Like I try to like use a quiet voice. Like even tonight she said, Mommy, why are you whispering? Like, because I want you to calm down, because you just been turned all day. So yeah, we do try to cut it before bedtime, because like you said, Rachel, they will be in there. Like Rory, y'all know, I sent videos before Rory was singing herself to sleep. And I'm talking like hour and 2 hours just in there singing her life away. She wasn't crying or anything. She just in there turned up from everything she has seen today that her eye gates have received, because it was just one of them days where we just needed you to watch TV because we tired.
I've told you guys before, like we still use the deep breathing monkey YouTube video as like a transition. So it's still screen time, but it's like a 5 to 6 minute long video of it's just like soft music or something like that, and it's not highly stimulating. It's like really dark outside and the monkey's just sitting on a patch of grass, and he'll occasionally do this and like stretch his arms. And so Miles will sometimes copy that. But sometimes, like, let's say we get home late and he still needs to eat dinner, and while he's eating dinner, I'm washing dishes or doing something. So I will do TV, and we've done, it's called Vooks, VOOKS, video books, and they have bedtime stories. And I want to say it's maybe 50 minutes long, but we've probably only made it to the first 10. And so we see the same 2 stories every time. But that's kind of been my like middle ground. And we don't do that on a tablet or phone so that he can't see, oh, these are recommended. Let's go to this one. No, it's on the TV. You can't touch it. And we
That's what
also
I just
started
put.
saying,
That's what my son did.
Right.
what you tried
Yeah.
that? You tried, did you try
No,
the
she
monkey
did to
video?
put it
I
on the
tried the
TV.
monkey video. He was watching it like, oh, mommy. I'm like, yes, this is working. And then when it was done, he just went
Right.
He was like, what's the other
Like,
thing?
what else?
Like, what's
Yeah,
the other
you
monkey?
gotta-
Where's the other
Right.
monkey?
Oh, but the other thing, we talked about this too, the guided access on the iPhone. Do y'all do that if your kid has your phone? I swear we talked
Explain.
about this. So on the iPhone, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if Android has it. For me, you might have to turn it on in your settings, but you triple click and you can lock, gray out certain parts of the screen, or you can simply just say you can't leave this app. But I'll gray it out so that
Yep.
he can't touch, the right-hand corner and the whole bottom where you swipe
Yeah.
up.
Go
and
look
keep
for it,
the
Angie. Go look for it.
I gotta check if
Wow.
that
It's
works
called-
on the iPad.
it's called
It works on the
iPad.
iPhone. I remember I used to do it all the time.
And
All
the
the
tablet
time I
will
used to
do
do
it. And like also if you're getting phone
Yeah.
calls and texts like that, because he'll like try to swipe my text away and open it and he's like, my video.
Yep. Yep.
So we've
Yeah.
we did the monkey one, we'll do the books, and we'll do it on TV. But also another thing we started doing, because I just know that Miles really like needs a good transition. We say goodbye. So I'll say like, say goodbye to Daniel the Tiger. Say goodbye to right before I turn the TV off, or we use Alexa for the timers. And I'll say, I'm setting a timer for 10 minutes, but I'll be like, Alexa, set it for 2 minutes. And then I say, when you hear the noise go off, that means it's time to go upstairs.
Somebody
Oops.
heard
she
you.
heard me.
Somebody
I was trying to whisper.
Somebody's heard you. And that's the other thing, all these devices listen. And
Always
so
heard.
when the children are on your devices, it has listened. If we talk about Hawaii long enough, it'll start popping up. And when your children are on your phone, now all of these ads and different things are popping up. So it's a thing. Now I want the last part of this, because y'all know we can talk. But the last part of this, the education piece I wanted to bring up was, what are we teaching children in reference to their bodies, right? Because a lot of people don't even teach their children the right body part names, right? Almost like we're ashamed, like these names sound better than, they don't, right? So are we teaching them that? And then are we teaching them autonomy over their bodies and leaving it there? Or are we having them to make substitutions based on who it is? Is it grandma when I don't want to be kissed and she's saying, hey, come give me a hug, and I don't want to be hugged, but we're saying, oh, but it's grandma, go give her a hug, or it's auntie, go give her a hug. But at the same time, we're teaching them, or should be teaching them, autonomy over their bodies. So, and correct body part names, so they know what they have. They know what this stuff is. They're curious, they're looking, they're touching, they're assessing everything. Are we teaching them the proper names, or are we still like the generations before us, where there was a stigma behind using correct names for body parts? So
In
In
my
regards
house,
to,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. In regards to the body parts, Eva touches her vagina. She touches her bottom. I'm like, yes, you're touching your vagina. You were touching your buttocks, or you can call it butt if you want to. So I feel like it is important that they know the proper names, or she knows the proper names of the body parts that she's touching or exploring. Now, in regards to the people trying to kiss her, well, we haven't really had that. Me and Earl are an older couple. We don't. Our parents. Well, my mom passed. Both of his parents have passed. It's just my father. Sorry, her grandfather, my father. So we really haven't come across that yet. my family and girlfriends who, may want to hug her when we see each other, like in church or, out and about, they really leave it up to her to determine, hey, hi, Eva, can we get a hug? And if Eva turns away, then Eva turns away. They don't force it. They don't pressure her, nothing like that. But yeah, so just sharing.
Like that. Like that.
I've told this story before on here, but in our house, and if as for Rory, she's gonna know the proper terms for her body parts, because I know I've said this on the chat before about that the little girl going to school talking about her uncle touched her cookies, and the teacher didn't realize that she was talking about her vagina, because in her house, vagina was called cookies. So Rory knows vagina, and just like Sharon, she touches it, she knows it, she talks about how it tickles, which is still, I'm trying to, trying to fix that. But, she talks about like it tickles or what have you. And, she knows what it is. She knows all of her body parts as they are. But that will be, that's a complete deal breaker in my house. That will be. Now, as far as the touching or what have you, because COVID babies are at a disadvantage because we've been home so much. Just about all of us on this chat had the advantage of the extra maternity leave. But it messed us up in this. Well, I'm speaking for myself, messed me up in a sense of just this year is when we just really starting to really get out and go places or what have you. And Rory is trying to get used to people. And because we fist bump and high five at home or what have you, it was then turned into hugging and things. And then like we're walking in Bob Evans and you're walking up to random people giving them hugs. And I'm just like, no, baby, that's not what we're gonna do. And then I had to pause it and like, we don't hug strangers, we don't touch strangers. If you feel the need that you want to speak to somebody, you can just pound them. So then that turned into her wanting to walk around like this every time we were somewhere. So I'm just like, I don't know. But as far as like family is concerned, I guess I never really thought about it, but like those close family members, like your grandmas, your aunties, even the village group, I think it when Sharon said what she said, it raised the point. It's all in your circle. My circle kind of already knows, like you offer. If she not feeling it, we cool. We not forcing anything. And Melissa says it all the time. And I see Melissa do it all the time when we're around Melissa. Like, are you hugging today, Miss Rory? And if Rory goes and hug her, which she love her Wissa, Miss Wissa, she gonna go hug her. But if she not feeling her, then we cool. It's no big deal. Like I don't force her on anything and on anyone. And I'm really, really like trying to work on her and strangers because she's innocent and she doesn't know any better. And if we're out and I'm not like full on eyes, she would just run up to people. Or like in my case, my next door neighbors, their kids jump out to cry after school and they're running up to Rory full on hugging and everything. And I'm like, don't hug her. Don't hug her. You can give her a high five or fist bump. And they're like, is she sick? I'm like, but she's not sick, but you've been around 100 kids. You go to school and you're coming. No, you don't need to be hugging and jumping all over her and stuff. And I don't want to come off as offensive. And like sometimes we won't even go outside. If they outside, we just not gonna go outside. I'll text her around and be like, hey, I need help getting the groceries out. Oh, wait, they outside. Wait a minute. Don't come out yet. Because I just rather avoid it. But it was just sometimes it's unavoidable. So I just had to tell them like, don't be hugging all on her and stuff because she doesn't know any better. She gonna hug back. It's a little kid, but that's a germ situation. But
but it's still regardless. Regardless, I had to, I'm not easily offended, when I know the intent or the heart behind something, but I've had to start paying attention to when we're out in public and people see the twins, they'll say things like, oh, double trouble. Or I know they, stuff like that. And I don't want them to feel like they're trouble, right? I don't want them to feel like, well, you got your hands, so I'm sure they all over the place. No, and my husband and I are both very good at saying, no, they're really good babies. Like they're not, and now I have to say big girls. You have to say big girls, but they're not, these kids that are all over the store. And I think people see that and then they're like, oh my goodness, they sit here, like they do all. When I say, okay, we're going to the store, let's go potty, and they're like, okay, mommy, like they're just gonna follow you to the bathroom. Yeah, that's what we do, because I know twins can be a handful, twins can be, I don't want them to start picking that stigma up, that because there's two of you, it makes you even worse than if there was one of you, right? So I have to make sure that when people say things like double trouble, we have to voice immediately after, no, they're not trouble, they're really good, like they're very well behaved, or whatever it is, because I need them to say what I'm saying, right? So at some point when people come at them with those negative things, I want them to have a comeback with a positive thing, right? So I hadn't even really given that much thought until lately. And one lady just kept saying it. She was like, oh, first, of course, oh my goodness, they're so beautiful. I know they're a handful. I know, they probably give you a lot of trouble. No, they don't, because I know double trouble. No, ma'am, they're not double, like, and she was kind of insistent on it. And finally, I just told the girls, I said, say bye-bye, and let's like walk away, right? But people say that when they see your children. And I know she didn't mean anything by that. What she was in actuality saying was, woo, twins is a whole lot of work. Like it's double everything, but it doesn't always have to be double trouble, right? It could be double the hugs. It could be double the snuggles. It could be those kind of things, but nobody says positive things, and unless they have twins or multiples. And I didn't know there was so many in this world till you walk around with a pair, and then everybody has kids, grandkids, somebody, that, and then I get the best advice, like from olders, like, don't let people tell you this, let them do this, don't let, this is what we did. And we get really helpful advice, but people that don't have multiples, they don't have a lot of positive things to say. So it is 10 o'clock, ladies. And as always, a great conversation. I probably shouldn't say this before this last outro, but no technical difficulties today. Was very smooth transition in. I'm hoping it's going to be a very smooth transition out. Join us back here next week. We will have a special guest next week. We actually may have two. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but we'll have special guests as we continue with part 3 of the education of our children. Join us back here. We appreciate your support. As always, make sure you like and share our videos to your friends, even if they have kids, they're pregnant, they're parenting. This journey is, we call it the hood, motherhood, parenthood. It's the hood. This is the ghetto. It's a good hood, but it's hood. These kids ghetto at times, right? They don't care about nothing that you care about, right? It's their own agenda. So come back and join us as we talk about the journeys that we are taking, with a journey that we wouldn't change. And for as much as we call it the hood, as much as we call it ghetto, we would not change our babies for anything, who they are. We love them to pieces, and we appreciate that God trusted us with this assignment, right? Because they didn't have to be ours. So we are truly grateful. We're going to say good night, and we will say good night to all of you after, but we're going to say good night to our audience. If you need us, our contact information will show as we share the video.